I'm Adam Pelzer. I'm 33 years old, from Germany originally. I went vegan in 2018, beginning of 2018, when I was living in London. I've been vegetarian for quite a while before that, because I always, or right after moving out from my home. Yeah, after moving out from home, you're forced to cook for yourself. And the first time I had to cook meat for myself, I had to think about what it meant. And pretty quickly I started realizing that it's just something I don't want to do. I read Jonathan Safran Foer's book, Eating Animals, as a result, which didn't completely turn me vegan. And it was a struggle for many years until I finally watched Cowspiracy for the first time. And that was the end of, beginning of 2018. And that's when I turned fully vegan. And I was living in London back then. The community is really strong in London. So I joined Anonymous for the Voiceless and started doing cubes, which was, an amazing experience. Yeah, the main reason why I went vegan in the first place was for ethics. Even though I watched the documentary Cowspiracy, it just hit me that there's no excuse for any types of animal products. The very first thing that I noticed when I turned vegan was a visit to the grocery store, how you basically can't buy anything. It was, back in London, at least that's what it felt like. So it was just produce and all the whole foods that you could only get and nothing pre-made. And that actually felt very liberating, having to think and come up with recipes and just rethink your whole world of food, which was quite amazing. Something else I noticed very quickly was how my body reacted to turning vegan. I think I was probably, like so many people, quite addicted to cheese. Yeah, I lost weight, but it balanced in pretty quickly, which was quite amazing. I felt much better at the gym, recovery-wise. The most important reason for me now to be vegan has not really changed. It's still ethics. And I think it's very important in conversations to stress that very strongly with people who are not vegan yet, that's the only way to address the subject, not to ever see it as a diet and fall back into eating any animal products again. So it's ethics. I think it's extremely important in this day and age for the whole world to go vegan, as it's the final frontier of the social justice movements in general, I would say. A very effective way of approaching others to become vegan has been through street activism with the Anonymous for the Voiceless. I find that an extremely effective tool. It's an organization that has an installation that is called the Cube of Truth, where half of the activists who meet up to do this street activism would stand in a cube formation showing slaughterhouse footage on a TV screen to the general public, and the other half talk to the people that actually approach or stand in front of the monitor, talk to them about what they see and what it means, and if they have ever seen footage like that, which is a very good way of breaking the ice in the first place. Yeah, one of the biggest challenges going vegan is definitely how to approach the subject with your closest people at that time. Friends, family, it's definitely complicated, but I've managed to address this subject very well with many friends and family who have felt the urgency as well, and some of them have turned vegan. And as a natural evolution, you would make friends with many vegans naturally. So with my closest friends, I would watch documentaries together to bring the subject closer to them. And I guess it's just natural because they are your close friends that they make the link very quickly the same way that you have. So I was very lucky in that respect. But there were definitely cases where it's much harder, and it's a constant challenge still being friends with people who may not get it in the first place and just keep working on it constantly. So that's very difficult. Still working on it. It's a hard balance to find the right words that don't offend the other person and them making them think that they are a bad person. So because we've all been at that, most of us have been at in the same spot where we have been consuming animals and animal products. So one kind of has to find the balance between sympathizing with the other person because they aren't there yet and controlling your emotions, and that's a hard one. Yes, I do have a massive regret, and that is the regret that pretty much every vegan has, that it hasn't happened much earlier. That I was vegetarian for such a long time. It's a tough pill to swallow for me that I haven't made the link much earlier. Because of the surrounding, because of the way we are all programmed from birth to be speciesist, and having the closest people around you just subscribing to animal exploitation makes it very hard to break out of this, to be different. Yeah, I was definitely one of those teenagers that would think, vegans? I could never be vegan myself. So that's quite shocking in retrospect, but yeah, that's cognitive dissonance right there. I'm not worried about any nutrients, to be honest. Yeah, I do take supplements, B12 mainly, which I believe everybody should be taking in general. There's this argument for meat eaters usually, right? And they even get their meat injected with B12. So yeah, that's not really an argument. At this point, my wife does most of the cooking. So yeah, I just enjoy her food. And it's usually the full spectrum of things. Tons of veggies, legumes, lentils, a lot of Chinese cooking, which is awesome, with many really amazing meat alternatives, many coming from Taiwan, which is really cool. Yeah, I'm starting to realize that anything that I enjoyed before can be made vegan really well. There are such amazing meat alternatives at this point, so that makes it extremely easy for any meat eater to transition nowadays. Yeah, we definitely try to get full spectrum of proteins in, whole foods, beans, legumes, all the greens, broccolis. Well, I suggest for others to get started from their heart, because that's how I did it, and there's no way how I could have ever turned away from veganism again. So I think ethics is at the core of everything. Gosh, I haven't really used them myself. I was quite lazy. I think nutrition facts, right? Yeah, one great resource is definitely nutritionfacts.org. You can check that out. Yeah, I think the main reason why people quit veganism is that they haven't done it for the right reasons. Not from their heart and for ethics and for the animals. If it was just a diet for their health or to lose some weight, then those are the first people who would turn away from it again. And it's quite heartbreaking for the rest of the vegan community who does it really for animal rights. I cannot imagine a situation in which I would ever eat any animals or their secretions ever again. Yeah, I find it quite fascinating that veganism has been something that would have been already discussed by Greek philosophers. I got a quote here by Pythagoras. As long as men massacre animals, they will kill each other. Indeed, he who sows the seeds of murder and pain cannot reap the joy of love.